While all the headlines are buzzing about electric cars and new battery gigafactories, there's a much, much bigger story unfolding. In India, they are quietly putting together an energy revolution on a scale the world has literally never seen before. So let's get into it.
And really, this is the big question, isn't it? This isn't just about kilowatts and power grids. It's about what it takes to power the ambitions of the world's most populous nation, using the sun, the wind, and the very elements of nature itself.
Just take a second and let that number sink in. 1.4 billion people. This isn't some small-scale pilot program. We're talking about an undertaking of almost unimaginable size, with consequences for the entire planet. Which brings us to our first section. Because let's be honest, when the stakes are this high, it's not just a plan, it's a massive gamble. It's a bet on the future that could either become the world's greatest climate success story or a massive cautionary tale. So, where does this gamble begin? Well, it all starts with the one resource that India has in nearly limitless supply: sunshine. But the genius here isn't just using solar, it's the commitment to doing it on an industrial, giga-scale that can fundamentally change an entire economy. And if you want to know what giga-scale really looks like, get this: the Bhadla Solar Park. It's just a sea of blue panels stretching out into the desert, covering over 14,000 acres. That's bigger than San Francisco. And it's generating enough juice to power millions of homes. And the crazy part? It's just one of many.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how on earth is this even possible? Well, it's all down to a combination of relentless government policy and absolutely fierce competition in the private sector. And what that's done is drive the cost of solar power in India way, way down to some of the lowest prices on Earth. It's actually making clean energy the cheapest energy.
Right, but there's a catch, isn't there? The sun doesn't shine at night. For a modern economy to run 24/7, solar needs some backup. And that brings us to the other natural forces India is wrangling to build a power grid that's actually reliable. So, meet the silent workhorses of this revolution. India is already a world leader in onshore wind power. Now it's pushing into the next big thing: offshore wind, to catch those stronger, steadier ocean breezes. But honestly, the most critical partner of them all might just be water. So how do you store all that power from the sun and wind when it's not always on? The answer, surprisingly, isn't some super high-tech chemical battery. It's something far more elegant: a giant natural battery made of water. It's called pumped hydro storage, and it's a total game changer. It's actually brilliant in its simplicity. Here's how it works. During the day, when all those solar panels are pumping out cheap, excess electricity, they use that power to pump water from a low reservoir up a hill to a higher one. Then at night, or anytime they need power, they just release the water. It flows back downhill, spins a turbine, and boom, you've got electricity. Simple and incredibly effective. Okay, so that's today's power. Solar, wind, and hydro are powering the grid. But what about tomorrow's heavy industries? This is where the plan gets really ambitious. Welcome to what a lot of people are calling the holy grail of clean energy: green hydrogen. The idea is pretty simple. You take all that super cheap, renewable power and you use it to split water molecules, H2O. What you get is a powerful, totally transportable, zero-carbon fuel that could clean up the hardest parts of our economy. Now, we're not talking about powering your car here. This is for the real heavy lifting, the parts of the economy where batteries just won't cut it. Think massive steel and cement plants, or huge cargo ships and long-haul trucks. And India isn't just trying to power itself, it's playing a much bigger game. It's positioning itself to be a global export hub for the fuel of the future. And this whole transition isn't just happening in deserts and factories. It's also growing out in India's agricultural fields. They've got this aggressive push to blend ethanol, which is made from crops like sugarcane, into their gasoline. And with that one move, they're tackling 3 problems at once: cutting down on oil imports, reducing pollution, and putting more money into the pockets of millions of farmers. Okay, so it all sounds amazing, right? A perfect plan. But this is where we hit the big one: the massive, incredibly complex challenge that is coal. Just look at this. This is the reality on the ground right now. For decades, coal has been the engine of India's growth. And even today, with all this incredible progress in renewables, it still provides the majority of the country's electricity. You can't just flip a switch and turn it off. It's not that simple.
And this is why this is so incredibly difficult. It's what's known as the just transition dilemma. On one hand, phasing out coal is an absolute necessity for the climate. But on the other hand, the entire coal industry supports millions and millions of jobs, and entire communities depend on it. So how do you solve for the climate without leaving all those people behind?
And as if the coal problem wasn't enough, you've also got these other massive hurdles. The entire electrical grid needs a multi-trillion-dollar upgrade to handle all these renewables. Getting the huge amounts of land needed for these mega projects is a constant fight. And, of course, figuring out how to finance this whole transformation, well, that's one of the biggest economic challenges the country has ever faced.
So, with all these challenges, it feels like India is at a crossroads. The path forward is steep and the obstacles are very real. But what if we've been looking at this whole thing the wrong way? What if this is about something much bigger than just energy?
You have to understand, what's happening in India is so much more than just an environmental policy to cut emissions. At its core, it's a brand new economic and geopolitical strategy. The goals here are huge, and they're crystal clear. First, achieve total energy independence, so they're no longer at the mercy of volatile global fuel markets. Second, build a whole new generation of high-tech manufacturing industries around this new energy system. And third, use all of that to gain a powerful new voice on the world stage as a leader in clean technology. And this quote, man, it just says it all. It really captures the sheer scale of the ambition here. It's a vision for a totally new kind of global power, one that's not built on the old fossil fuels of the past, but on the limitless energy of the sun and the power of its own people's innovation. So it really makes you think, doesn't it? While a lot of the world is still debating this transition, India is out there actually building it, and at a speed that is just breathtaking. So you have to wonder, is the global race for the future of energy already being won in places we weren't even looking? Look, the road ahead is anything but certain, and the challenges are absolutely immense. But one thing is for sure, the whole world is watching. And the really critical question is this: will this incredible billion-person bet on a green future actually pay off?